I'd want to welcome I want to welcome Taranjeet, who logs in from Singapore. It's 10 o'clock in the night there, and I know that he's got a lot on his mind right now. So thank you so much for making it, Taranjeet.
No, thank you, Andy. Thank you for inviting me. I'm really excited to be part of this program.
Today we are going to have a really good tight schedule. The idea is that Taranjeet will basically be presenting some slides on the topic. As you all know, Taranjeet is the managing director for CRITEO, which is the MarTech platform, but it's also one of the largest aggregator of audiences. And even I was surprised to know when I was talking to it of the scale and size of Criteo and the number of clients they are working with across the world. So some really exciting stuff. I'm not going to give away his thunder. And Ranjit has been involved with tech and platforms for a long time. We met when he was in Z5 quite a few years ago, and I've only heard great things about him, and he continues to do some fantastic work with Criteo and APAC. So the what we'll do is that let Taranjeet present for the first 30 minutes, and then if anyone has questions, please put your questions in the chat, and we'll ensure that we spend enough time to actually address your questions. Right, Taranjeet, over to you. All yours.
All right, thank you, Andy. I hope I'm audible to everyone.
Yes, absolutely clear.
Yeah. All right. No, thank you for setting this up, Andy. I'm really excited, to be here, part of this forum. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I've just put together a few slides, basis, the topic which was given to me, which is on marketing automation and MarTech. So, what I've done is I've actually, this is a pretty huge subject to talk about, but I've got some things which I thought would be relevant, some things in terms of the trends we are looking at, how the world is moving, how things are shaping up across the world, and some insights on how today consumers and marketing, especially marketing channels, are looking at reaching out to audiences. So I think I don't need to talk much about how the world's changed for all of us over the last 2 years. I mean, COVID obviously has, I would say, accelerated growth for certain industries, certain sectors, and digital obviously happens to be one of them. And there is an accelerated growth which has happened over the last 18 months, especially if you're in the entertainment sector, if you're in the gaming sector, in the education sector. And definitely this is ridden, the whole wave is being driven by the e-commerce.
Sorry to
And
interrupt, Taranjeet. Can everybody see Taranjeet's screen? Because I got a message that not everyone is able to.
I
If,
can
every,
see.
if everybody can just quickly unmute, I'm able to see. Okay, cool. I'm really sorry about that. I think Suresh, just recheck your because I think everyone can.
Yeah, I think it's still loading for me, but yeah, I'll have to disconnect and see. Let's see. Okay.
Oh, cool. Sorry, go ahead, Taranjeet. Sorry about that.
right. So so I'm sure you all have read, and I'm sure you in the previous sessions you've had with other speakers, everyone's spoken about COVID. So I wouldn't kind of dwell too much about it. But I think what is really interesting, there are two very important trends where it comes from a marketing advertising point of view, which has come through. One is the consumer shift. I think what COVID has done is, see, I've spent about 27, 28 years now in the industry. I've sold from a newspaper to a magazine to a television channel to a publishing platform to social media to OTT and now pure play ad tech. I mean, throughout my journey in my career, I've seen audience shift happening, and audience shift happens at its own pace. But what COVID did was it accelerated consumer change and consumer behavior across the world. I wouldn't even just say India. And what was really interesting was that this shift was happening not only in the younger or the millennial audience or Gen Z, which people used to talk about. This shift happened across age groups, and it happened across various different segments across tier 1, 2, 3 cities. So it was pretty unanimous. And we all know that it comes to advertising dollars follow audiences. I think marketing is in a very interesting place because the traditional form of marketing, which kind of worked really well over the last 5, 10 years, had to be relooked at, had to be reinvented. And today marketers have a very interesting challenge to look at how to effectively reach to their audiences, especially at a time where things are getting more fragmented and media is getting more commoditized. So just moving further, this is a CRITEO research which we did some time back in India. And what we realized was the dependency which marketers had on a few channels was only increasing. And that was kind of also making most of the marketers very uncomfortable, because that in a way was also letting go of a lot of control, letting go of a lot of insights on their own consumers. And how could they build better lifetime value of their own users and audiences? And that is something which most of the marketers are today thinking about. What we've also seen is that marketers require solutions that span across the entire customer journey. So today, marketers, and what COVID has done and what this audience shift, which is the accelerated audience shift, which has done, it's forced the marketers to not think about, okay, this is a launch campaign and this is a sales promotion campaign and this is, a offline campaign and online campaign. Today, marketers are forced to think about the entire consumer journey. How, from whether it's like driving customer satisfaction, whether they're looking at creating more lifetime value for their audiences, are they looking at leads? So it's actually touching all the aspects of the marketing funnel. So whether you're looking at the top of the funnel, the mid funnel, or the bottom of the funnel, today when a marketer is thinking about it, they're looking at partners or they're looking at solutions where they can actually touch the entire funnel. And that what we have seen has been the major shift on how today marketers are approaching in terms of spending their ad dollars reaching out to audiences. Just to give you a little context, and this is just about because Andy kind of asked me to speak about it, I just wanted to give you a sense about what CRITEO is. So CRITEO is one of the largest open internet ad tech platforms in the world. We obviously work with over 20,000 clients across the world. We specialize in retail, which is e-commerce, travel, and classified. But now, obviously, post-COVID, we're diversifying across sectors and across solutions which we are bringing to our customers. Just to give you a context, our audience data is in the range of about 2.5 billion upwards. Facebook, which is obviously one of the largest in the world, has an user base of about 3 billion. And YouTube, which is obviously Google's brand, is about 2 billion. So I just wanted to give you a fair comparison between the platforms so that you had a sense in terms of the insights which we bring are at scale. And just to put it very simply, CRITEO knows how people buy online. And that is a very powerful information to have, knowledge to have, because you can track your consumer's journey and you can track their preferences really well. So, how do you continue the conversation across the full funnel? And this is something most of the marketers have been asking us. Most of our partners ask us. I think it's very, very interesting of how do you first define audience sets? How do you look at optimizing viewership, audience shapes based on data, locations, demographics, which a marketer is trying to reach out to? The aspects of creating brand awareness to get people to, have a consideration towards your brand, maybe visit your website, look at your product, or look at the service which your brand is offering. How do you get that person to come back again and engage with your brand through retargeting? How do you ensure personalized message at scale to help build conversion? So if you look at the entire journey, it's very interesting today of how you can map a user or a consumer across the various stages of the funnel. And give the marketer the opportunity to target the consumer across where the consumer wants to be, not just on a platform. It could be across the internet, it could be across the open internet. Sorry, somebody. Can I request everyone to be on mute, please? So how does it all work together? Can I request people who are not speaking to be on mute, please?
Let me go ahead.
Yeah. So just to give you a little context in terms of if we had to draw this into a value circle, what would this look like? How does the consumer start the journey? How do you, build that consumer across and build that engagement across consideration, and then you get the consumer to evaluate the various options or choices they would have? How do you effectively retarget them and bring them down the funnel to eventually buy, convert, or become a repeat user for your brand? And that is most of the, I would say, in today post-COVID is a big ask from most marketers. And this is not only a shift which is happening with probably the new age companies, but what we've seen is in the recent, at least in the last 3 quarters, even the traditional CPG brands are now thinking about moving their marketing efforts across the internet on driving consideration and sales. So they want people to go to their e-com channels or partner channels where their brands are present and drive traffic and consideration both in terms of getting people to buy. Personalization, I think, is becoming really important, especially post-COVID. It's a distracted world we all live in. I mean, there are hundreds of ads people get exposed to on a daily basis. I think this is not new, and you all would know better than I that India is a mobile-first market. I think India is really interesting because 100% of the people in India can be reached on mobile. And if you look at over the last 2 years, 75% of digital ad spends have all moved to mobile. And so if you take a step back, you actually today can build better reach and frequency for your marketing campaigns than what even a television or a newspaper would do earlier. And that's why if you look, there's a substantial shift of ad budget which is happening towards digital mediums. Mobile is gaining. The app ecosystem, because India being such a 100% of the people in India can be reached on mobile. The fact is that app ecosystem is one of the biggest and the largest ecosystems which is getting to kind of emerging in India. I don't know whether if you guys were just from a statistics point of view, I was looking at some apps flyer data. India is actually growing at 190% year on year when it comes to the app market, and that's the speed India is growing at. So personalization becomes really key on how you build effective creatives to reach the right audience and get that share of voice. Ad sequencing becomes super important. How do you inspire? How do you engage, activate? And creative has always been very personal and very subjective always. Today, with the help of AI and technology, you can actually customize and you can build very relevant communications back to your customers. Most of the tech partners you'll work with would probably have their pixels on your site. So when you have a consumer coming to your site, they can track their journey. They can actually look at reaching out to that consumer outside your ecosystem. They could actually look at building similar or look-alike audiences, people who can look at. But how do you build the right creative and messaging? And today, there are creative technologies which are there, which can build personalized messages at scale. They know what product feeds to pick up, what kind of, colors would like. Maybe, Andy might like black color sneakers. I might like red color sneakers. How do we ensure that Andy does get served the black color ad, and whereas I get served a red color ad for the same shoe? And that becomes super important because a good creative with the right format and the right AI technology behind it can drive actual sales and conversions. And that's where you can help optimize your marketing spends and build efficiencies for your ROAS and ROI or any other marketing metrics which you're looking at. Now, just touching upon a few future trends of how we see, the world evolving, especially in the space of ad tech, in the space of the consumer shift and the journey which is happening. I think one thing which is really exponentially growing is commerce media. I think commerce media is the future state of ad tech. It is taking center stage. Our CEO, Megan, she always talks about commerce media being the new search. And if you look at it, the ultimate goal of commerce media is to provide richer shopping experiences to consumers by supporting on the open internet through discovery, innovation, and choice. And what commerce media does is it combines commerce data and intelligence to target consumers throughout their shopping journey and helps marketers and media owners drive commerce outcomes such as sales, revenues, leads. This is going to be one big trend. And even if you look at it, within in India, because India is obviously such a booming commerce market, if you look at Flipkart, if you look at, Snapdeal, Myntra, all these platforms are growing exponentially. And today, if you look at it, are also attracting a substantial amount of marketing dollars being spent on these platforms. The same format which is continue to grow, and this is globally, but India obviously at a very accelerated rate, is the video and CTV market. This is one area because one, CTV also is cookieless, so it also future proofs. Secondly, because India has been such a traditionally television dominated market, CTV gives an opportunity for a marketer to still use the large screen in terms of the real estate size, but target and effectively reach out through the internet, through the data intelligence which brings in. What we've also realized is consumers do enjoy watching video ads, and 60% prefer video ads more than display today. I think it's no surprising. I think we all know that India today is the largest data consuming market in the world. On an average, I think an Indian consumes about 9.3 gigabytes a month, which is far, I will say at least double than the closest market, which is there in the world. Secondly, if you look at the way OTT ecosystem is growing in India today, I think there are almost 38, 39 players, and only more are coming in. It's because of the amount of entertainment consumption which is happening in India. And this is not only primarily happening in English or Hindi, but regional is driving a lot of growth in this particular sector, which makes it again very interesting for traditional brands like CPG brands who want to reach out to tier 2, tier 3 cities and people in their own languages. This gives them a far more effective way to reach out to highly targeted audience for them. Second thing, I think the third most important thing which we see as a future trend is first party data will fuel the marketer strategy. And why this is because we all know that cookie deprecation is going to happen in a couple of years. What first party data does is it centers and it creates an identity foundation for the brand and for the marketer and gives the user the controls. It powers personalization. It helps you build far more relevancies when it comes to your ads and the overall experience the consumer can get. Just to give you a few examples, today, if you look at the future of advertising, especially post the cookieless world, I think there are going to be three different audience targeting scenarios in the future. There's going to be an addressable audience, which is again totally based on how much first party data you have. Second is going to be cohort, which is in terms of how can you use different multiple data sources to build one consumer profile and then look at how do you reaching out to that cohort of consumers. And third is contextual. So while contextual has been there for a while in the world, it's just coming, I would say contextual 2.0 as a offering is now what is going to come into where it comes to looking at cookieless or cookie proof advertising in the future. Now, what I mean by addressable is that an addressable audience is known visitors and customers who have opted in to receive personalized advertising. That's why the first party data becomes super important for any brands to have, because this will help them enrich their consumer data set. It'll help get them to know their consumers far better, and they can do far better targeted personalized messages to this set of audiences. Second is cohort, and cohort audiences is a Google solution of how ad targeting can work in Chrome without third-party cookies. It's looking at how do you create audiences, looking at technical executions, and obviously measurements and fraud preventions through third-party trackers to give the required metrics which most of the marketers look at. I think contextual is a cookie-free solution because that's more about marrying the right content with the right audience set at the right time and ensuring that the ad gets served at the right place. Contextual has been there for a while, but now this is getting far more refined because, you just look at the example below in the daily news, you have the right Estelle ad when you're talking about a handbag and, it's targeted to women, kind of content where you're more likely to reach to your target audiences with the similar product offerings. So how marketers can take action? If you look at the future, I think first very important thing is they have to start testing out cookieless solutions. I think connected TV is a great way to get into it. Contextual targeting. I think retail media, like I spoke about commerce media being the future of ad tech. I think retail media is a great place to look at reaching out to the commerce audiences across any of the retail platforms. And secondly, how do you look at also looking at consumers opting in for advertising? We all know, Apple with iOS 15 had a major opt-in for every consumer to opt in to be seen, to be followed or to be served certain kind of ads. And what is important for marketers to see is within their cohort or consumer sets, how many of people are opting in, because that will help them enrich their first party data much further and in a better way. I think last thing which I'll talk from a trends point of view is omni-channel strategies. And I think from an India's point of view, omni-channel is a very important factor, because there are people who still go to malls and who still go and buy product at stores. It'll be super important for brands to have a unified omni-channel strategy, integrating their offline data with their online data. It's a most convenient way to get consumers to shop, embracing digital transformation, as well as looking at the traditional ways of shopping. Uh, it's an optimistic trend to take note of that of the demand revival and a pivot towards digital first approach when it comes to shopping. A lot of people today, go to a store, look at a product, and then go online and buy it. I mean, you have both types of consumers who are looking at it, look at this shift, and definitely create omni-channel strategies integrating the offline data. Last, I would say the customer journey is always on. So, initially marketers used to have phases for their campaigns. So, typically they would be based on seasonalities. People would run 4 to 6 campaigns a year. There could be one brand campaign, 3 sales campaigns, 3 offers. But today, if you look at it, the customer journey is always on, and your marketing campaigns need to be too. How do you build better efficiency for the budget? How do you build better ROI for the budget you're spending is what you need to start looking at. You got to start thinking about a full funnel approach. What this will do is it'll help you maximize your audience reach across your buyer's journey. It'll help you optimize your marketing spends and avoid duplicated efforts. It'll also help you feed in more into your first party data sets. It'll ensure consistent branding and messaging across channels and in a far more personalized way. And it'll give you a complete journey about your consumers' engagement across campaigns. So whether you're looking at retaining consumers or whether you're looking at acquiring new consumers, if you have always on campaigns through your digital channels in a far more effective way, using a full funnel approach, you'll actually drive the maximum value for the budget you're spending. So those were thoughts I just wanted to share with you today, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
For those who have questions, you can just put it in the chat. So if anybody has a question, just please raise your hand or put your question in the chat, and we'll ask Taran to address it. Taranjeet,
like I said, Andy, this is a pretty big topic. Each of the examples I gave, you could have probably a full day sessions on each of these subjects. The idea was to just give a indication of how we see the future evolving, especially in the MarTech and AdTech space, and how marketers could or should start thinking about their own marketing efforts and initiatives.
Yeah. One of the questions I had is that, firstly, the size of the CRITEO audience is amazing, right? At 2 billion, you're almost equal to YouTube and, very comparable to Facebook. And that makes you a significantly large player in the market.
Right.
So one question I had is that have you seen clients actually move significant monies away from these platforms onto yours over a period of time?
See, when it comes to commerce media, we are actually the undisputed leaders. Now, how CRITEO knows how people buy, right? And the way we have built our products in terms of targeting capabilities or creating the audience cohorts, we can help marketers really fine tune the kind of audiences they want to go after. So our shopper graph, which is our audience set, it gets refreshed very, very periodically. I mean, it's very up to date. The fact is that it's a massive amount of, so we have almost 645 million daily active users transacting over $900 billion worth of purchases every year. So there's a significant amount of buying power as well as habits we end up seeing about consumers. We obviously know how to build different cohorts, different consumer sets, different segments. Like, I'll give you an example, and this is something we obviously consciously over the last 12 months have been talking to most of the CPG brands. 65% of CRITEO. So in India, our reach is about 210 million. 65% of my audience in India is women. So that means I'm talking about over 130 women audiences CRITEO can offer. That's almost 40% of the total reach of women on India internet.
Wow.
Right? We know what is their purchasing power, what is the frequency of their purchasing, how do they shop, what are the kind of brands they buy. And this makes it very interesting for CPG brands to, they want to reach out to this audience. At the end of the day, it's super targeted audience they will reach out to, that to scale. And we have seen some great success with P&G. We've just launched a few campaigns with P&G, with Godrej. We're talking to a few others who are just onboarding, because we launched video as a proposition about 6 months ago, and the way it's being taken off, in terms of reaching out women in a very brand safe environment, is what marketers are looking for. So we've seen a fair amount of shift which is happening. Sorry, there are questions.
Yes, absolutely. So Suvesh's question was, why are digital only channels, especially the e-commerce brands and verticals, going back into brick and mortar stores? I mean, any insight on that?
So, I mean, there are a couple of them, and like I talked about omni-channel strategy, I think the really good example is Lenskart. It started off with online, and today it has offline stores, because the way they have an experience built in, you can actually try out different models on the internet, but people still do prefer to walk into a store and wear a pair of glasses to see whether it suits their face or not. So it's a combination of how you look at marrying your digital data and your offline data together to give a seamless experience. At the end of the day, it's all about understanding your consumer, and it's understanding your consumer journey. If a brand has been able to address the needs of their consumer, they will always have space and they'll always have market share. So omni-channel is becoming a very important piece for brands who have significant presence both online and offline. And it says also, as CRITEO integrated in e-com sites. Yes, we work with all of them, I would say, except in Amazon, because Amazon is a walled garden. CRITEO is the largest ad tech player in the open internet. We work with all the e-com sites outside Amazon. What gives CRITEO an edge over Facebook, YouTube? Like I said, we know how people buy. Google's, primarily the data or their targeting packs are based on search, and Facebook's more on social behavior like likes and engagement. Whereas our insights, our targeting capabilities, our audience creations of cohorts are built on buying behavior. How does CRITEO leverage its client data with customer advertising? Is CRITEO more consulting, or will you use client base to help market product? Great question. So, we're a completely GDPR compliant company. Obviously, we don't, share data in terms of, specifics. We'll obviously build customer cohorts at a much larger level. In terms of not only consulting, we actually are an ad technology company, and we can help you run and execute campaigns across markets, across segments, across your marketing KPIs. I think this was Biju's question.
That's right. Yeah. While if anybody else has a question, do ping it here. But so I'm thinking, you said it, and I think you said the future of advertising is going to focus a lot on e-commerce behavior data, right? And we can see that Amazon in the US has become now the third largest advertising platform, and slowly eating into increasing share of Facebook and Google. On this side of the world, where Amazon is obviously building its base, but we have multitude of players, right? I mean, you have Lazada, you have Shopee.
Yeah, Shopee, Lazada are really big. Like, I'll give you an example. At least the markets I run, and I run, all markets South APAC. Even in US, if you look at it today, Walmart, Target, Costco, these are really big companies in terms of who have now migrated mostly online. If you look at, Southeast Asia, you have Shopee, Lazada, obviously the biggest. Then you have Grab, you have Tokopedia, you have Tiki, you have Sendo, you
Flipkart.
have MarTech, Flipkart in India, Myntra, Snapdeal. I can name hundreds of them.
And CRITEO has their data. I mean, CRITEO is integrated.
We work with all of them. I mean, at the end of the day, we work with all of them. We enrich their sales. We obviously help them drive performance, we help them acquire new customers. We help them get more value for and build lifetime value for their audiences. Yes, I mean, we work with all most of the, Criteo has traditionally been known for the retargeting capabilities which we had. 2 years ago, we obviously transformed as a company, and now we work across the full funnel. We've seen a massive amount of growth, whether it's the video side, you look at it, contextual, you look at retail media, Criteo actually is the pioneer in retail media. So I would say we, in the retail media space, we're actually bigger than Google and Facebook, because Google and Facebook are still, I mean, they're just about starting on the commerce capabilities.
That's
We
true.
have been in the commerce space, especially in the retail media side, much ahead of them.
Mhm. I mean, I think it's interesting to see what's going to happen here. One other question has just come up from Suresh. I mean, his
Are these
question was,
companies
yeah,
not
yeah.
investing in the data? Yes, of course they do. But obviously, Criteo can help them drive better efficiencies, better performance. At the end of the day, it's generating revenues, generating sales, acquiring new customers, helping reach out to maybe future customers. So these companies also do, invest in their own data understanding and help build their own customer cohorts. But because our engines, our technology has been there for very long, we can help optimize and drive performance far quicker.
So, for example, if Flipkart has their own ad tech platform to allow self-service, right? So,
Yeah.
is that also powered by a Criteo engine?
No. So Flipkart has their own, ad products for their on-site sales, but we do work for Flipkart on the open internet.
Ah, okay, okay. So this is outside of the Flipkart ecosystem.
That's right. I mean, bringing consumers in and transacting on Flipkart and helping them build sales is where we can help. See, Criteo works across the open internet. Like 2 years ago, Andy, when I was joining Criteo, from Z5, and so I asked Megan, who's a CEO, in my final round of interview, that what do you think, Criteo's proposition was? And she turned back and said something very interesting. She says, Criteo, I think, is the world's best kept secret. While people know about Facebook and Google because they have consumer facing platforms, we are very B2B. So not a regular consumer would not have heard about Criteo. I think that's changing. Today, if you look at most anyone in the digital space, I mean, we're not talking about big companies or big brands, even the SMB sector, right? Today is trying to build efficiency by spending whatever marketing dollars they have on digital. So there's a massive increase on Google AdWords and that particular segment which is growing. Criteo, in our SMB space, we've seen a fair amount of growth because for the SMB segment, it's all about dhanda, I would say. If they put in 1 rupee, they expect 2 back. So they drive pure play performance. Companies like ours, like technology companies like ours, like Criteo, help them do that.
Awesome, awesome. Pratik had a question which says, the cohorts that you spoke about, are they based on past purchase behavior, or is it like live real time?
So our data is refreshed, pretty real time, I would say. The cohorts are not just based on purchase behavior. We actually have the capability of we actually have a capability of creating. We use 120 odd signals to create cohorts, and we can create over 100 different cohorts. So it could be based on buying power, it could be based on shopping habits, it could be based on the kind of products you buy, it could be based on many factors, and it could be classified across whether an health enthusiast or whether it's a homemaker, or whether you're a adventure enthusiast, or whether you're a sporting enthusiast. We have various different capabilities in our algorithms and engines to create these various customer cohorts. I mean, I would encourage, if you are interested to know how Criteo technology works. I mean, do visit criteo.com. Our website is fairly enriched. You will get a great sense of the type of products and capabilities we have. We explained quite a bit in detail, also some videos on our audiences and how we create those audiences and what are the various capabilities you could learn on the shopper graph. So if you're interested in to know about Criteo and the capability details, I would definitely recommend to visit criteo.com. I will put the URL here in the chat. So in case you want to click and go, you can definitely go.
Karthik's question was, does Criteo have plans to launch its own white labeled self-serve platform for retailers?
We already have a self-serve platform for retailers. So what we call is a management center. So if you're a client of ours, we give you access to a self-serve platform where we help you run your campaigns. If you're obviously of a certain large scale size company, we also have managed service where we will have our own teams helping your teams to run that campaigns. But also on the self-serve side, we have a management center which you have the control and the power to run your campaigns.
And you're working with clients of all sizes, or do you still prefer to work?
Everyone. I mean, in India, we work with, I think, over 700 clients already.
Okay, so you're talking about even the smaller retailers, etc.
Yeah. I mean, our clients come from even small towns.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So just to put context, an example of what kind of a small client would you be working with?
I would say, very
like a
hard.
Kalyan Jewelers kind of, or that scale.
Smaller than that also, I
Smaller
would
than
say,
that,
Andy.
yeah. Obviously, yeah. Kalyan Jewelers is quite big, actually.
Yeah, Kalyan is quite big.
Quite big.
I'm talking about home delivery service, or we're talking about somebody who delivers flowers. Like obviously, Ferns and Petals is big now because they have a pan-regional presence, but similar of a local also would work with us.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
One question is on personalization at scale. We've been hearing about personalization on at scale for a very long time. Do you really think it is kind of?
Yeah, I mean, our TCO plus technology, we have the capability of doing 71 trillion ads to one single person in real time. That's massive. 71 trillion different combinations to a single ad person.
Wow. And you see clients actually, not obviously, I'm not the size, but do you see clients?
We have a pixels on our client's website. So when we look at data, we have formats, we look at the consumer journey. We obviously have enough, I would say enough insights to get the right ad, what color should be it, what display should we display, two products, three products, or a single product ad. Should it be a video? Should it be a 6-second? Should it be a 15-second? We have engine which works on it, and we can really tailor the ad to the person. So, just to give you, we work on a CPC model, which is cost per click.
Yeah.
So we only get paid when the conversion, right? We have to drive that conversion. So we have to be really good at how we build that personalization on messaging.
Okay, that's interesting. So that also gives you an advantage over Google and Facebook to some extent, right?
Because, yeah, I mean, Google has its own capabilities. Facebook would have it. We have our own. Again, if you want to learn about our DCO technology, I put my URL down there. You can definitely go visit that and have a look at how that, like I said, all these topics which we've spoken about today actually could be a one-day session, just understanding how that product works.
So one prediction before we leave for the evening is, so where do you think, MarTech and AdTech is going to? I mean, what do you think is the future going to look like?
I think the future is really bright, and I'll tell you why. COVID hit a lot of industries. Advertising spend still hasn't gone down anywhere in the world, right? And ad tech is driving advertising now because most of the shift is happening towards digital. I mean, even if you look at in India, KPMG has predicted that 2022 digital will be mainline and television will be number 2, right? So the shift is happening very significantly. Ad tech is what is going to drive, because today marketers want a full funnel service. They want to work with partners who can help them address all the needs. Today, marketers also don't want to work with 15 different partners trying to solve and integrate 15 players. They want one single person to actually help them who can help them build first-party data, who can help them build audience insights, who can actually help optimize for their marketing spends. So I think the future of ad tech is really bright, and this is just the start, I would say, because in India, the tipping point is now. I mean, US and UK and these markets, obviously the tipping point of digital happened 3-4 years ago.
So, I mean, just coming from the agency ecosystem in the past, what happens to the media agency therefore?
No, actually, very interesting question. I think the media and agencies are evolving, and we are working with all the top 6 agency groups in the world. I think, Andy, one big change which I'm seeing is that most of the agencies now want to create retail media capabilities, right? And that would help them also reduce the dependency on Google and Facebook, because, we all know almost 70-80% of the ad spends today, go to Google and Facebook. And beyond the point, the agency's perceived value is going to only diminish because Google and Facebook are going to build that relationship much stronger, right? Where the opportunity is coming in, especially with COVID, there the surge in online shopping or entertainment or education or fintech has increased so much that it has given an opportunity for agencies to work with partners like this, us, to help build capabilities outside Google, Facebook, and help them actually get better at building commerce media.
Okay.
And that I feel is a great opportunity on that.
I think we'll take one last question from Pratik, which says, can you share a growth hack that has helped Critico actually scale so much?
I mean, that's, honestly, I don't know how to answer that. CRITEO is really good at what we do. Like I said, our constant endeavor is to keep adding value back to our customers and our clients. Our clients, have stayed with us for almost 15, 20 years since the time we've been in existence, because we've been constantly driving value for them. I think I would say, if a service provider like us or any partner can continuously, you know, change a client's objections into their objectives and solve for them, growth will happen. And customer centricity is what drives that growth.
Awesome, because I know Critico has pivoted and you keep moving direction as the market changes, right? Is that also a secret sauce that has got you ahead?
I think, you have to somewhere, it's a combination of, predicting future as well as building it. And how do you kind of work towards that? Because, you know, you had, you have so many e-com channels now which have come up. You need somebody who can help, get that together. And retail media proposition of Critico is all about helping retailers monetize their first party audiences on their site and helping them grow and make revenue.
Right. So the first mover advantage perhaps is also being
Yeah, like I said, in commerce media and retail media, we actually are the leaders. We are much ahead of Google and Facebook.
Awesome. Awesome, brilliant. I know we are at 2:15 and we promised a 45-minute session since you also have a tight evening. But look, thank you so much for being here, Taranjeet.
Oh, thank you, Andy, for inviting me. And I really enjoyed great questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone for attending. The video and the recording will be on the platform up tomorrow. So if you want to catch up any of the points you missed, you can do that. So thank you so much for being here, everyone. Take care and have a lovely evening.
All right. Thank you. Have a lovely
Thank
evening.
you so much, Taranjeet. Take care.
Bye.